A never-before-seen email sent by the prime suspect in the unsolved 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloway, revealing a new piece of evidence in the case. Just 2 days after the disappearance, Joran Sloot wrote to a friend, quote, "My dad got a boat 2 days later. We went for a ride and took care of things. That's all I'm going to say." Callahan Walsh is the co-host of In Pursuit with John Walsh and joins us now to break down the latest developments. Good morning to you, Callahan.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Well, thanks for coming on. What do you gather from this? I mean, it seems like he's admitting that in an email to this guy named David G.
Yeah, and we have to understand that this was early on, right, as well. We've seen Joran Sloot change his story time and time again over the course of many years. We've heard that she was, dumped at sea with a friend of his, that she was buried with the help of his father, and even the claims that he made, and the reason why he's in America right now for the extortion charges and claiming that he was going to show the Holloway family where he had buried her body. So this new evidence, I hold a lot of weight in this new letter to David G., this email that him and his father had buried her, or had dumped her body at sea. But what's interesting is that Joran Sloot and his father didn't own a boat. So they would have had to borrow a boat or rent one. And if they can find that boat that they had borrowed or rented, perhaps they can find more evidence to prove that her body was dumped at sea and could eventually lead to possibly the prosecution. Because again, he's never been charged with her murder.
I know, it's so bizarre when you think about when that happened. She was in her teens. She was in high school, 17 years old, I believe. And now she would have been in her 30s, and we still don't have a body. If someone is dumped at sea, what are the chances that the body will eventually be found?
Unfortunately, how long it's been, close to zero. Whether it's the tides or anything in the water that's going to try to really. Right. If there's sharks or if there's anything else that's going to dispose of the body, there's really not going to be much left, unfortunately. It has been such a long time. So it's really about that evidence and finding out, did they rent this boat from somebody? Is there evidence on that boat that maybe was cleaned by the boat owner after the boat was returned? Trying to find out who that original boat owner really is going to lead us to the evidence that could possibly close this case.
Okay, let's talk about Alex Murdaugh. Dick Harpootlian is the defense lawyer for Alex Murdaugh, and they've appealed this. He said the jurors heard too much about his financial problems instead of the forensic evidence that he says is very strong in proving Alex Murdaugh's innocence. What's your reaction?
Well, we all watched the trial, and I don't remember ever seeing a body of evidence that proved his innocence. And if they are concerned about all this, the financial crimes that they say, yes, he admitted to, well, it was partial motive for the murder. And it's the lawyer's job at that time during the trial to object to that evidence, not after the fact. You don't get to just say, oh, we get a do-over because you didn't like the outcome. So if there is a retrial, if there's an appeal, the only people that win here, because we know he's guilty, the only people that win here are the lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, the financial problems, that was definitely something that made you realize maybe not a great guy stealing money from his clients. But then when you heard what the nurse said, his parents' nurse, about he asked her to say he was only there, he was there longer than he actually was. And then when you saw that Snapchat video, that was just the nail in the coffin. So what happens if this is if there is a retrial?
Well, it's unfortunate. Anytime there's a retrial, any victims have to be dragged right through this whole process over again. It reopens these wounds. You think you finally get justice, and you have to do it all over again. And the taxpayers are out money as well, too. It's an embarrassment. This guy should be spending the rest of his life in jail. Even the financial crimes, he'd be spending probably the rest of his life in jail anyway. So the fact that they want a retrial is ridiculous.
Callahan, thank you so much. Great to see you this morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.